seeking out truths, seeing the world with the mind of those who see beyond the three-dimensionally. So, talking brain, ask the right questions, uncovers the blinds.
Hey, hey, hey! Welcome, welcome! This is Being Love TV's Soul's Talking Brain Show, and we are your double goddess. This is
Aline,
and I am Roni Lipstein, and we are absolutely blissed to have you here with us today. Having a very special show today. Yes, we are actually the last show that we did with a guest was a welcoming back.
A welcoming, that's right, yes.
And this show is a welcoming. March is about welcoming back.
What we mean by welcoming back
fabulousness.
Yes. What we mean by welcoming back is welcoming back guests that we've had before, and reuniting back here on Soul's Talking Brain Show with new wonderful things, even more wonderful things that they've been doing. So it's not just what they did back then; it's what they're doing now.
Yes, absolutely.
And continue to do so.
Yes. And so for today's welcome back guest, we have the absolutely delightful Roberta Grimes joining us here today. Roberta is an afterlife expert, and the last time that we had her on the show, we were discussing her book, The Fun of Dying.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Right?
Yes.
Remember that show? Which was just, you know, even the title of the book just makes you stop and go, huh?
Well, if anyone who has not seen that show with Roberta Grimes, let us refresh your memories and give you a little bit about who Roberta Grimes is.
Roberta Grimes is a business attorney, novelist, and speaker based in Austin, Texas, who had two extraordinary experiences of light as a child. In an attempt to understand her experiences, she has spent decades studying nearly 200 years of abundant and consistent communications from the dead and other afterlife-related evidence that eventually enabled her to assemble an in-depth understanding of who and what we are, how reality works, the nature of God, and the meaning and purpose of our lives.
Roberta has learned so much about the death process and the period immediately following death that her second book about the afterlife, The Fun of Staying in Touch, she documents the many ways in which the dead contact us and the wonderful recent research that is making it easier for us to communicate with them.
So the first book, the first time that we had Roberta on our show, we were talking about the fun of dying, which again, but really, that's what the book is all about. And based upon everything that she said, we have much to look forward to. However, for those of us whom are still what we consider to be living in the human form and have connections with those who are no longer living within the human form, today's show is about staying in touch, maintaining the lines of open communication between yourself and those who have transcended the physical form. The fun of staying in touch.
The fun of it, yes, to be able to communicate. So, without wasting any more time, shall we give her a call?
We didn't waste any time.
Not at all. I just want to, obviously just get right into it.
Excited.
I am very excited.
Yes.
As I'm sure anyone who's watching, hopefully, is excited as well. You know?
Well, I would think most people have had the experience of somebody close to them dying, transcending the physical form, and to be able to delve into the ways in which you are able to stay in connection with them is definitely brings some sense of solace to many people.
Solace
I'm sure,
and comfort, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's give Roberta a call. I'm going to call her over Skype. Call her over Skype.
Free promo for Skype just now. Yay!
Hello.
Are you sure you want to do this I have such a great face for radio.
Yes, everybody
I
wants
to
to
say that, but it's just true.
Everyone wants.
You're lovely and young, and I'm sort of older, but attractively so.
You look fabulous.
Thank you, dear.
No such thing as that. No such thing as old. You're you. You're always you, right? You don't change, right?
You know, isn't that funny? But it's so true.
Mm-hmm.
My 93-year-old mother-in-law said the same thing. It was hard to believe then, but now I know what she meant.
Yeah.
We're always the same person.
Yeah, exactly.
How are you both?
Oh,
How have you been?
We are wonderful. We are very, very excited and so happy to see you again. And you know, it's twice the charm. It's so nice. I was excited from the first show to begin with, and now I'm even more excited because I'd like to delve into and learn how I am able to communicate with people that are dear to me that are not here anymore.
And you know what you're doing? You're helping me to warm up because I'm going to be on Coast to Coast later on.
Oh, lovely.
So, thank you for the warm up. You know, I gotta get all frisky and sound good for that. So I feel relaxed with you, and which is great. I appreciate that.
Oh, that's so wonderful. All right, so let's get right into it. We were reviewing your book, and one of the things that I found is that there needs to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, there needs to be an underlying belief that this even exists in order
there
to
needs to be no underlying certainty that it doesn't exist. You don't have to be a believer, but you need to be open-minded.
Okay.
I hear from a lot of people who had no idea. In fact, I thought most people knew this stuff, and they don't. I'm amazed. I hear from so many people who say, oh, I never knew that's what that was. Or people who say, while I was reading the book, the lights were flickering. It's just astounding. I mean, their loved ones are so happy. You know, now you know that we're doing it, so we're going to keep doing it.
Right.
It's a new thing, apparently, for most people. New idea.
Well, so this is, I guess maybe that would be what I was referring to, because a lot of the things that you cite in the book are things that, you know, somebody like my mom, for example, or my dad, for example, who come from a more scientific mentality would pass off as something that they can explain. You know, there was some kind of an electrical issue, or, you know, you're smelling something because it's associated with something that closely resembles. So there is, to me, you do, as you said, have to have a relatively open mind.
That's all it takes. You don't have to be able. In fact, most of the best researchers are actually skeptics.
Okay.
I'm a real skeptic. Because if you're not a skeptic, you'll believe anything, and you can't make sense of a new science, which is what this is. If you're going to believe everything, you've got to make sure you vet it pretty thoroughly. But this is a demonstrated phenomenon. And what's wonderful is when people then contact their loved ones, they can confirm, yeah, I was doing that to the lights, or I never liked that TV show. That's why I kept flicking it with the channel when you were watching it. I mean, it's just amazing how they validate what they were doing.
So why don't you give us some examples of how those who have transcended, who have died, do communicate with us, how we can be more conscientious of these communications, and then we can move into how we can actually interact with them.
We start with the things that happen first. There's very often a vision at the time of death to someone. This is surprisingly common. People that are close, but someone died at a distance, at the time of death, they'll appear to a loved one.
Okay.
This is an old phenomenon. In fact, Thomas Jefferson, who died in the morning on the 26th of July, the 4th of July, 1826, get this right, 4th of July, 1826. Thomas died in the morning, John Adams died in the afternoon. Thomas appeared to John Adams.
Okay.
That's what they died in different states, but they were close at that time of their death, and that's what they do. Within the first year, more than half of spouses see a vision of the spouse.
Right.
Yeah. Usually it's when you're falling asleep or when you're waking up, but they appear in the room and they look solid, although usually they don't have a lower part of the body. So those are the early things that happen. Scents are early. People will smell perfume, cooking oil. Um, anything that tobacco is a common one. Anything that would remind you of the dead loved one, they'll make you smell, and it's in your head. So if the two of you have just lost someone, and in fact, someone told me this story. She and her husband were smelling Grandma's cooking, and they said, "We can't be smelling that." He said, "I don't believe it." At that minute, he said he no longer smelled it. She still did. Because it's happening in your mind. It's not something that's happening in the room.
Right.
So those are the earliest things they do. They start fairly early giving you pennies. One woman gives quarters, which is nice. Feathers. These are apports. They're usually something they've dematerialized somewhere and made materialize in front of you, which is kind of amazing, but that's what they can do.
Okay.
So that's the first.
Okay, I'd like the $1 million instead of the penny or the quarter.
Pennies.
Hello, if you can do it. Sorry.
One woman told me her mother had given her a lot of money in quarters over time, which I think was very nice of the mom. You know?
Sure.
Other people cranky when the coins disappeared wherever they had been, but I'm sure they could afford
Well,
it.
there's plenty of coins that fall out of people's pockets on the street, so.
Obviously, if you find a penny, that doesn't mean anything. But if you're finding one a week or two a week, and then suddenly you're finding them everywhere, including in places where they shouldn't be. Oh my goodness, that shelf! I know I just looked at it. Now there's a penny there. There wasn't one there before. Or one fellow said he had just cleaned his whole car. The cup holder. He had totally clean, everything was cleaned out. He looked in the cup holder, and now there was a penny there, and it had the date of his father's death, the year of his father's death on it.
Wow.
That's what they do. That's the kind of thing they do.
Okay.
That's a sign, and there's no way around that. How did it get there if he had just cleaned the car out? No, he knew there was nothing there. Later on, they give us more complicated things. They give us songs, a song on the radio, the song you dance to at your wedding. Could be a very old song. Could be a rap station, and suddenly they're playing this very quaint old song. That's a sign. That's what the dead do. They're able to do that with their minds. Isn't that amazing?
So now you had made mention of the fact that this is based upon a lot of research, right?
Yeah.
Like all of the because I would like to give people the opportunity, because I know that there are a lot of skeptics that are out there, and there are a lot of people.
Too. I think we should all be skeptics.
Right.
But
if we
to be
can
a closed-minded skeptic.
No, not
just
to be.
stupidity.
Yes, of
it's
course.
Just foolishness.
Okay, so you started off. You were yourself a skeptic. You had explained to us in the first show regarding the fun of dying that you had done years and years and years of research based upon over 2 centuries of findings. So I just wanted to give our viewers the opportunity to have an understanding of where all of this information is coming from, so that there is an ease of being open to accepting. So where does this all?
I'll summarize it quickly because it's pretty. Anyone could duplicate this work if you wanted to spend a lot of time doing it. But in the early part of the 20th century, we had a heyday of communication mainly through deep trance mediums. Beginning in the last decade of the 19th century through about 1940, 50 years, of hundreds of communications were received. Now, most of them, these were not research communications, although some were. There were serious researchers who were working with these deep trance mediums, and there were proofs delivered through them which boggled the brain, because they were trying to prove that they weren't reading minds, that, this is something that only a dead person who knew everything could do. When you put together all these communications, when you read hundreds of them, what you find is they're all talking about the same thing. It's the same place, the same process to get there, the same process when you're there, the way they dress, the things they do, everything about it is the physics of it is the same, and the physics is very peculiar. I mean, you can travel from where you're sitting to an Alp and go snowboarding just by the thought that you want to go snowboarding on an Alp.
So this is where you got the information by which you've based the second book, The Fun of Staying in Touch.
Well, I'll tell you where that came from in a minute, but I think it's important for people to understand that we can demonstrate, as scientists would say, that the afterlife is real, and we demonstrate it in a variety of ways. But the core way is, I have never seen an outlier. They all are talking about the same place. That's not possible. The odds against chance for so much correspondence are beyond calculation.
Right.
So that's where we start. So there is a real afterlife. And then we start looking at the many, many ways people, individuals, are receiving signs.
Okay.
I'm not the first person to do this work.
Of course.
The Guggenheims wrote Hello from Heaven, which is a wonderful compilation of tons of signs. But the trouble is, it's a thick book, and most people don't have the time to read it. And so what I did was read that and a whole lot of other books, and also interview a lot of people, and distill what I had learned from all of them. And some of the stories are really quite wonderful.
Okay.
But in addition, it's clear to me that my guides knew it was important I experienced some things, because I am a skeptic. So right around my mother's death, I had some wonderful signs, which I detail in the book. I could tell you they happened because I was there, and I couldn't believe it either, but they happened. I have a very dear friend who died 8 or 9 years ago, who died at 20, and he's a very advanced being. He communicates through his mother now, and he told me how they do a lot of these signs, which boggles the brain, some of it. I quoted him in the book. You may have noticed that.
Yeah.
So you put it all together, and you can still say, no, I will not believe it.
Right.
If you're doing that, what you're saying is, I have decided to become a fool. I am going to be a skeptic who is closed-minded and will not accept new information. The closed-minded skeptic is a term that Victor Zammit uses, and he's the wonderful, wonderful Australian researcher. And he's had people in his face for 25 years, but not so much lately. They've stopped. The skeptics have sort of gone into hiding because they're basically wrong, and they don't like being He's had people tell him, I don't care if you can prove it to me, I still won't believe it. So he says, at that point, there's just no way to fix it. I mean, you can't help people who refuse to understand what's true. So anybody who is interested in knowing the truth, there is plenty of evidence of what's true. And it is such a wonderful, wonderful reality that we are just beginning to understand. And the scientists know it's there. They know it's there because they know that what they're studying, everything that mainstream physicists are studying is less than 5% of what they themselves know is there. We've been studying the rest of it. It's all coming together now. Isn't that wonderful?
Nice. Well,
that was very nicely said. Very eloquently said.
It's very
actually.
true, though. It is very true. Right now, it's become such a it's a trending subject.
Yes, yes, that's right. I've watched it happen. The Fun of Dying first edition came out in 2010, and since then, I mean, I would be looking at I gave a lot of talks, I still do. I'd be looking at a room of black faces, and I'd be saying all this stuff, and it was like I was talking to the wallpaper. People couldn't understand it. Now, different audience, but I was just on the West Coast in the fall. When I speak before groups, I see nodding, I see smiling. The questions I get are well thought out and brilliant. Everybody seems to be knowing this stuff now.
Yeah, well, there's more of an acceptance, which is why it was important, again, for our viewers to be able to get this background information before we delve any further. I really would like there to be, some modicum of openness to the potentiality of this being a reality that we may not have been living by for the last several millennia or decades or centuries, but that to at least have that open mind to listen and take in what you're sharing today, because I think that it is very important and brilliant and a wonderful gateway for every single one of us to be able to walk through. So let's get into the communications again then, shall we?
I just would like to add that anyone who feels that they need to take a side, I'm on the side of science, I'm on the side of this information, there are no sides. We're all seeking the truth. This is part of a greater reality which has not been even thought of by mainstream science, but the information is all there. The evidence is there for them to study, and they'll be studying within the next 10 to 15 years, I'm pretty confident. It's all one reality, which is what's great about it.
I kind
I'm
of,
sorry, yes, now we're going to talk
kind of
about
believe that too.
What?
I kind of believe that too.
Believe what? That it's all one reality?
It is, yeah. In some ways, it's something that is in the now, something that is bigger than it ever was.
Yes.
It's just, in my opinion, that's just what I feel. And perhaps it is a premonition, perhaps it's what I want, or maybe that's just what I'm drawn to right now. But I also feel that from what I'm seeing around and what's happening not only online, but on television and just in general as how we are evolving, it is something that I do believe is becoming something quite big.
I think people are definitely opening
so powerful as an idea whose time has come.
Right?
This idea that we don't have to be stuck with studying only a part of what's true, but we can be fearless and study all of it, and it's wonderful. That idea is what is making the difference now. People are very open-minded now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so it's great to see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, it's to be able to be alive, like the fly on the wall, who is both completely participatory and interacting with the evolution of the change, as well as watching the change happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so quick, like to be able to watch it happening in our lifetime in such short time periods. Like when I first penned my books that are on sale now, the word spirituality, even the word spirituality, which is so commonplace today, it's become cliche.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day when I was writing, which was 15 years ago, it was like very taboo.
Taboo kind of.
It was the same thing as what we're discussing.
Yeah. It's flaky, right?
Yeah. Yes. And now today it's like so commonplace that it's a cliche. It's like, yeah, whatever, spirituality. Of course, I'm very spiritual, but I'm also... So it's just, it's awe-inspiring to be able to be witnessing this, for sure.
And it is, you're right, it is a gift to be able to be part of it. It really is. I'm grateful every day for this opportunity. So you want to talk about communication, right?
Yes. And when you mentioned something with respect to, you mentioned something about when someone you're close to is passed on, sometimes right away you might sense their scent or their cooking or their right, or being able to see them. Something that is, to my mind, I'm still wondering. There was not too much longer after my father passed away, less than a year ago. My mother actually, she said, I think I saw him. She said, I said, well, what do you mean? What do you mean you think you saw him? Like, how do you mean? Well, she said that, she's like, I really think I saw him. Like, the light was on. I can't remember. The light was on, and she was sitting on her bed, and she looked, and she was looking at the bedroom door, and he was standing. She said he was standing there, and he looked, And I said, you actually physically saw him, or was it something like, something in the side of your eye? She's like, no, he was standing there. And I said, so when she expressed that to me, first of all, it's my mother. My mom is not. It's not, she's not a type of person to. She's not living on. She's not living the lifestyle of hippies, for example. Okay, she's not an esoteric. She's a wonderful, beautiful angel soul, and she's also religious. She's whatever, but she's not that type of a person. And for her to say what she said that she saw, to me, I wanted to know what that was, and what is that? Is that something that has been experienced in your experience, in the experience that you've had in studying?
It's very common. Between spouses especially.
Yeah, she mentioned that.
Yeah.
We used to say it was almost 50%, but the more studies that are being done, the more we have to say it's more like 50 to 60%.
Mm-hmm.
It happens when people are open to it. When they're relaxed. The fact that she's sitting on her bed, she's getting all relaxed and mellow.
Mm-hmm.
We have to let down our guard, because we all, when we're very small, are naturally gifted. We're natural sensitives. That's how people are born.
Mm-hmm.
But we quickly learn to, in order to be able to live our normal lives, we learn to shut it off. Some people don't shut it off, and they're maybe sensitive all their lives, but most people do. But, you know, you see little children are playing with little imaginary friends. Those are probably real people that they're playing with. They just happen to be dead. My mother-in-law was around my grandchildren a lot, and they called her great-great-grandma. You know, they started it. She told them what to call her. And it was just, it's very common. It's so usual that it's almost unusual if it doesn't happen in your family.
Right. So you had mentioned some of the ways that they first communicate, which is leaving little coins or their smell of cooking, of their perfume, seeing a figure of them. So how do we now start to engage in dialogue?
The most important thing to do if you think you have spotted a sign is to speak aloud. Okay. I don't care who's looking at you. Speak aloud.
Okay.
Say, thank you for that. Will you do it again? Or will you give me something else? Speak aloud. Because that's how you start the dialogue.
So they don't hear your thoughts?
They can hear your thoughts, but Mikey, my friend who died at 20, says that the energy of your speaking is very powerful.
Much more powerful.
And it really helps them to continue to do this work. Basically, you're strengthening the love connection that you have with your loved one by speaking aloud. And
oh my gosh, I need to have a whole conversation now.
To give stuff. I'm sorry, what?
I need to have a whole conversation now because, you know, an out loud conversation.
It's a different kind of conversation. You say thank you, please do it again. They're giving you more stuff. You're collecting the pennies, you're collecting the feathers or whatever it is they're giving you. Then they'll give you perhaps a song. You turn on the radio, you think it's going to be some talk show. It turns out to be instead the song you danced to at your wedding, or the song that was your song, or something. That's another sign. You say, thank you, that's fantastic, I'm so glad you did that. And then they go, oh boy, she's enjoying this. So they'll give you something else. What they'll do is they'll stop traffic. You wonder why the traffic is so bad. Well, according to Mikey, if they want you to see that bumper sticker that has Mikey's name on it, or whatever the name is, or that has the license plate with the name, they will manipulate the traffic so that your car goes right behind that car, even if it means that everybody is in a traffic jam. Then you'll spot and you'll say, oh, there it is. I mean, Mikey does this with his family. He gives them song signs every day. His mother says she's all the time seeing his name or a couple of other words on license plates. Now, the only way to do that is to mess with the traffic. So, always thank them. And it begins to be a dialogue. And then you'll ask them a question. You'll say, you know, I'm thinking about buying that house I just looked at. What do you think? And they'll the next song you'll hear on the radio will be, what is her name, singing, no. Okay, no, I'm going to buy the house. All right. I mean, that's what they'll do.
So it's not an actual spoken dialogue. You're not hearing them necessarily.
There are ways you can begin to hear them. For example, Mikey's mother's not psychic at all. He guided her to do something I didn't believe in at all before I met them. But someone taught her to use a pendulum, and they became very good at pendulum communication. And it's something that most people cannot do with him. It's not like he communicates by a pendulum, just his mother. She says now she hears his voice as well. Okay. You know, he'll say the word and he'll start to spell it. They say the word, okay, then she's got that word, and then she goes on to the next one. So you can become more psychic in relation to that particular loved one if it's important to you.
Okay, so then maybe what I've experienced is more because I am more open. Yes. Because I've heard her father, I've heard my sister. I also communicate regularly. So then this is also for people who just are, as you had said, they're completely closed or skeptic. So skeptical, it would take a little bit more prodding, perhaps.
It's funny to me that what is the, I mean, I don't know, I guess everyone is different, but what is the harm in being able to communicate with someone that is no longer here. It's the same if we are on different, because it's just different dimensions we're on. We're just living, we're existing or non-existing on different dimensions, on different
vibrations,
different energetic vibrations.
In order for them to communicate with us, they lower their vibration so they are on our level. So they're literally right here. They're whispering in your ear. They're right here. But they don't have a physical body, so you can't see them unless they choose to use their energy to make a vision. Which
I know, which scares me.
Which actually, this is the part that I always wonder, because there's also sayings in different cultures and different customs. They say that you don't want to disturb them. They say, because it's different beliefs, different religions, different customs say different things. And one of the ones that I've heard is that, and there's many who say the same thing, is not to disturb the soul. Is like, if you're bringing them here, then you're not letting them rest, or
you are not bringing them here. You do not have the power to do that. They're choosing. They're the same people they were. They still love you, and they know you're missing them. So if they can give you a sense that they're around you, that makes them happy. Most people who have died, once they have gotten through to you that they're fine, most of them will go on. They won't hang around you. Mikey hangs around his mother because this is his mission. He wants to get his truth to the world. I'm trying to work now on a book that they're writing. I'm helping him write his autobiography. And that's a separate situation. Most of the dead, once they know you're okay and you know they're okay, it'll be like, see ya, I'll see you soon. Because there's no time where they are. And they want to enjoy their lives there too. There's so much more to do there. And it's so much more fun there.
But are you disturbing them though? While there's like, if you call out to them,
they won't come to you unless you call them. I say that, and then I just add quickly, if you are in very deep grief, and there's a strong love connection, you can hold them back. It can be a problem. So it's very important to damp your grief down. Many people don't understand how important that is. Well, I'm going to be sad forever because he was my true love. Well, give your true love a favor and let him finish his transition, and then communicate with him in a more sort of adult way. Because you can hold them back if you are in terrible grief. It's your pain that holds them back.
Okay, but once let's say it's been they've died. It's been they've had more than enough time to do their transitional process, and now they're living the life and they're having fun and they're listening to Elvis and Beethoven and skyrocketing and ski jets and all that jazz, and you call upon them. Or maybe they've decided that they want to reincarnate or something. Are you disturbing them?
No.
And what happens if they do reincarnate?
They can be in two places at once. Reincarnation is very different from what we think.
Okay.
Time is not linear. There's really no such thing as objective linear time.
Okay.
One of the advanced beings in the early part of the 20th century said, you can't understand reincarnation where you are, but the way to think of it is as a bucket from which each lifetime is dipped back into which each lifetime is poured. And that bucket basically is you. So the part of you that has reincarnated is not all of you. You have a very powerful oversoul, effectively.
Okay.
The mind is very powerful. And your mind is still there. Dulled, perhaps, by the fact that you're also having an Earth lifetime. I don't understand it. I don't. It makes no sense to me. It makes my eyes cross to think about it.
I understand it, though. No, I get it, though, because there is only an aspect of you that is reincarnating. So the whole of your piece of the whole is still available. Infinitum, I would assume.
It's just
it's
part of everything.
There was one communication. I didn't believe in reincarnation at all in the beginning, but one guy in the very early part of the 20th century, he was talking to his family. He had just died, and they said, "Well, is Aunt Martha there? We want to talk to Aunt Martha." And he said, "Yeah, she's here. I can see her from here, but she's sitting on a bench. She probably can't talk right now. She's having an Earth lifetime." I thought, wow, I don't even believe in reincarnation. He's saying this stuff.
Right.
But now I understand that that's basically what would happen. She can communicate, just she's kind of distracted right now.
Right.
So if, let's say, okay, that because we are here communicating about how we are able to communicate properly, I'm gonna take advantage, and hope that the viewers also are, it assists the viewers as well. When you are seeking to ask them something that they only know, and you've asked them, and you said that they hear you, they respond to you, there's definitely, is there a chance that they can't hear you? Is that even possible?
I think that's a good question. I've never thought about that. It seems that they always can hear us speak, unless they are so distracted. Understand, they're living a full life, but at a higher vibratory rate.
Yeah.
They can lower their vibratory rate to our level. If they happen not to be at our level, we are calling to them, and they would sort of probably hear a distant call, but they don't have to necessarily respond, or they don't have to respond right now if they're in the middle of doing something else. So they can hear you, but they may not. It may be something they can easily screen out, unless they are in the process, they have a lower vibratory rate, they're trying to communicate with you. Then they can hear everything.
Right. So, and you mentioned that when they are communicating with you, then it takes, I don't know if it's a lot for them to have to be here, because when they are going to communicate back with us, they're lowering their vibrational frequency, energy frequency, to be able to be here in this dimension that we are existing here.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. It's a skill.
Does it hurt them? Is it something?
It doesn't hurt, but it's a skill, and they have to be taught the skill. Some people who, when they've died, especially if they're more advanced, understand that our spiritual advancement is very, very important to what our powers will be once we've died. There seems to be a kind of spiritual physics that operates.
That's why
and if you have a very elevated ability to love and forgive, if you're spiritually very strong, you have a lot more ability to, lower your vibratory rate, do all these powerful things. My brother-in-law is a very powerful being. He can do amazing stuff. And he was, sure enough, in life, he would give you the shirt off his back. That's who he was. But, people who are not very well developed spiritually have to be helped to give signs. And there are people there who will help them. They're not... I think my brother-in-law helped my mother with all the stuff she was doing, although I gather from what I just had a reading with a very good medium, and I got to chat with her after 2.5 years. She's having a heck of a time. That's part of what's wonderful about this. They're all having so much fun. Oh my goodness.
Well, that's exactly the book, The Fun of Dying. It's interesting to me with respect to communicating, if they have to somehow be guided and have the skill to be able to communicate with us and reach us here, I would say, would you say that it's equally the same thing for us to be able to train and to be able to have the skill to be communicating with them? It's a skill for them, but should we're here right now, we're saying, okay, all I have to do is just say, hey, I'm talking to you right now, because it's a different...
Pay attention! I'm talking to you.
Yeah, and because you're focusing on who it is that you're right now. I'm calling my father, so I'm talking to you, and it's very easy, because I'm right here, I see him in my mind, and I'm talking to him. So if it's that much easier for them, because they're hopping from one place to the next, they can be anywhere, they can be in two places at the same time, their life is so much lighter and so much more, or their life, whatever the existence is.
It's a life. They're more alive than we are.
Yeah. So and for us, it's more dense. It's harder for us to be able to do things and be places. There's 100 million steps for us to have we be able to do something.
Attention, Dan.
So
they're really doing all of it.
So they are exactly. So
they're doing it all.
So it might be possibly even next to nothing for them. It's like a blink maybe of an eye to be able to hear us.
It's much easier for them. Understand what's really going on. Our minds are part of eternal mind.
Yeah.
We never begin, we never will end. And our minds are very powerful. But When we are in bodies, our minds are very limited by our material bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So the dead can do things with their minds, manipulate our reality in amazing ways. The more powerful dead people, they could take a chair, pick it up, throw it across the room. They are just very powerful.
Right.
We can't do that. Our minds are just not powerful enough.
So how can we ask a question that is a direct question and to be able to know ourselves how to get here and receive the answer when it's, as opposed to something that's physical, right?
But it might be through the physical. That's the point. There's signals and symbols. So you can ask a direct question.
Yeah.
And as Roberta was saying, a song might come on the radio.
So you have to
that
pay
will
attention.
give you, yeah, you have to be paying
so
attention.
I guess you have to pay. Okay, but obviously they would make
But
it.
remember too that you've got spirit guides. You're here doing a life
I knew
plan.
that.
You've got guides helping you do your life plan, and it may be you're not supposed to get an answer to a question. Or be given some guidance in something, and then you won't get an answer.
Okay, so I want to actually ask you something with respect to what you just said, with respect to spirit guides.
Okay, why don't we do that right after we take
We
a
can
quick
do that!
break.
We're like all these questions! Yes. So
we will be back in less than 2 minutes, right after this very quick little break. Breathing.
Breathing! And recharge.
We are back here on Being Love TV's Souls Talking Brain show with Roberta Grimes. For those of you who would like to get in touch with myself, my double goddess Aline, if you would like to suggest another fabulous guest, if you would like to advertise on our show, have a commercial of your own, if you would like to sponsor an entire show, please get in touch with us at the email address that you see under our beautiful goddess Aline, beinglove@1isall.com. We look forward to hearing from you. Let's get back to Roberta and our show today, the fun of staying in touch, communicating with the dead. Before we went on break, Aline wanted to ask Roberta a question about spirit guides.
One of the things with respect to spirit guides, you mentioned that we all have our own spirit guides.
Yes.
When I was younger, much younger, my father, who is now there, he told me something interesting. He was very spiritual, very much an aware individual, a healer as well. He said that everyone has angels. He called them angels. And he said every single person on this planet has an angel. And I said, well, how do you know? How do you know this? He said, well, it's the way the world works is that everyone is connected to a source, and each angel it's like a task that they take responsibility to take on. To watch over or to assist in whatever it is in life that you are here to do, why you've chosen to be here, if that is what you believe, etc. So when he mentioned that, I always felt, okay, well, I took it on. I was very young and I liked the idea that there's someone watching over me. So I took it on. Why not? It was great. Now, years later, you mentioned that we also have spirit guides. Now these spirit guides, do they have their own different mission with respect to us and the people that we are
different from our life purpose?
Yeah, like different. Do
they have their own?
Do they have their own agenda for us, different than our own soul's agenda? Like, are they?
The way it works is this: we and this is not an area where I'm expert. I mean, I'm just a two-trick pony. Death and the period right after.
Well,
And so I'll tell you what I do.
You've studied quite a lot, so.
Too true, pony. Too funny.
We all seem to have one primary guide. This is someone, usually a close eternal friend, who signs up at the time we do our lesson plan. They help us do the lesson plan for this lifetime, and they're with us our whole lives, and they don't ever look away for a minute. When I had my experience of light when I was 8 years old, that was just my spirit guide going away for a minute, so he could show me the difference. That's it. Mm-hmm. It was devastating to me to suddenly be without that. It's the water we swim in. It's the love of our spirit guide, who is our close eternal friend, who is helping us hit our marks in this life. When we travel out of body, which we do every night, we work on the plan with our loved ones, with their guides, with our guide, because things change, as we go along.
Evolution,
we don't need to have that auto accident because we learned that lesson another way, but, hey, why don't we build this other thing in, because we could probably handle it now because we've learned so much in this lifetime. We're always revising the plan, but they are making sure. They devote themselves to us. Part of the fun, when I did finally consult a medium to talk to my family, she ended up spending half an hour session talking with my guides, because I got 11 guides. My goodness, who knew? But they all have different purposes in my life, and that's what happens if you undertake work which is important to them, which I guess is what I've done. You get a team. I have 4 people who just are helping me with the afterlife stuff, but I still have my primary guide, and I got to know him more than I ever had before, which was really, really neat. I really recommend that people try to get to know their primary guide, because it makes such a difference to feel that connection. I mean, you really are never alone. That guide is always with you. Now, we also have angels, apparently. We each have a physical protector, which is an angel. Angels have never been in bodies. They're of a different fabric of their minds than us. And if you've ever had a close call in a car or, swimming or whatever,
shoved off
your angel is what made sure that you didn't, buy the farm time.
So not your spirit guide, but your angel.
But your angel.
So it's 2 different things.
Okay.
The spirit guide is somebody
who
who incarnates into the physical. He's a friend. He or she is a friend that you would be playing with up there, that they would still be there when you're choosing to come in this lifetime.
Had lives together.
Exactly.
Right.
But they're choosing that you're coming down this time. They're going to okay, so I'll be on this side for you.
I'll be on this side for you.
But your angel has never done that. But they're yours. Right. So both. So it is different than what her spirit guide's different than what your dad said.
And would you say that once you are, this is obviously all according to years and years and years and years of research and study, worldwide, right? So this is not just, of course, just needing to remind. This is not just information that here we are just picking out of our brains.
Anyone who does the research will come to understand this is all true, and it just was reinforced for me when I got to talk to these dudes. I mean, they seem to be all male. I seem to have only males. I've always been male too in all my lifetimes.
Well, see, that's another thing, right? It's
they were my buds. It's so great. How much fun it is to know them. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Would you say that again, once we've had this into our awareness and we're contemplating and we are entertaining this in our minds, as opposed to being close to it, is it the same thing to be able to communicate with your spirit guide and your angel and the person that you've lost here, that has been deceased in this lifetime? Is it
the same process?
Is it the same process?
No, not really.
Okay.
Because your spirit guide usually doesn't talk to you.
Okay.
Your spirit guide is just a feeling. Your spirit guide is almost internal to your mind, and for them to sort of show up when there was a gathering at my grandfather's farm and they all were hanging around there to talk to me, for them to show up was kind of a neat thing. They didn't have to do that. But they're working on, when you say you're a writer, we're being told that virtually all writing is done there and channeled to us.
I believe that.
Which is I'll tell you why I believe it. And it turns out I also write fiction. It turns out I've got a different set of guys doing my fiction. And I know I couldn't write it without them. They're doing a very good job. I love it. I'm just thrilled that they're letting me do this. They're helping me do it.
So Revelations is the same thing. Revelations and...
I'm sorry, what did you say?
So the thoughts and revelations are somewhat the same thing as writings.
Yes. When I didn't know I was going to write a book. And then in April of 2009, I decided I had a good life, and I would give my life to God. So I said, okay, whatever you want me to do. And within a month, I was writing The Fun of Dying. And all of this has happened since.
I'd like to take
even though I was going to write a book. It turned out I had 5 dead clergymen on that book helping me write it.
And you've written 3 so far, I think, but this is the second book right now. I just wanted to put it up on the screens for everyone to see the lovely cover. The Fun of Staying in Touch. This is the second book. This is the second to the first, which was...
The third one comes out in 2017, but when I told my daughter I needed a cover for it, she did such a beautiful cover, we put it on the website now, and said, coming soon, coming attractions, this third book, but it will be a trilogy in the end.
So, and for anyone who is watching right now, as I wish we had an entire day to go on with this and continue.
It never ran out of things to say.
Well, exactly. So I'd like to, just everyone who is wanting to get their hands on this, it is available. You could go to robertagrimes.com, which I have the website up here as well. And from there, obviously, they'll be able to have links to get to the book. It's available on Amazon, and is it available in both formats, ebook and print?
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect.
And there's a snippet of each of my books if you just click on the cover,
preview.
Because I think no one should buy a book unless they've been able to take it off the shelf and browse it. So I allow that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's just to let people know, the same as with The Fun of Dying, The Fun of Staying in Touch is a quick and easy read, very clear and concise. It's both easy enough for a teenager to read and sophisticated enough for an expert to be able to garner much wisdom from. So it's definitely something
Good.
Oh,
Thank you for saying that.
You are
most welcome. It's hard to thread that needle, but I did try.
You did a wonderful job, and it's definitely something that, if you're looking for something that you would like to be able to investigate further, that has a plethora of information based upon decades, centuries of research, of revealed research, then I definitely would highly recommend this book. And once you've read it, definitely share it, because more people that are opening to even the idea, the more prevalent it shall be, the more reverence shall we have for life and death and family and connection.
I should just say, too, people shouldn't take my word for anything. There's a 70-book annotated bibliography at the back of each of those books. There's a 4 books. Just read these if you don't have a lot of time, and they'll basically justify and fill out what I've said in the book itself. But then there's 70 books. If there's some area that you're just, I'm not sure I believe are there are books there.
Right.
And by other people that go at it in a different way, perhaps, or in much more detail, so you can satisfy yourself. And anyone could in a year get to the point where I am in terms of knowledge. It's really not hard. This is all so instinctive. I mean, we know it. We just forgot it. So it feels like remembering something that we just forgot.
Well, not just remembering something that we've forgotten, but the whole, there is such a hesitation because it's not just something we've forgotten, but it's actually something that we've been told is ludicrous. Yeah. So for somebody to even, like, for us to be here speaking publicly, there was a time where we would be burned at the stake. So not only were we told that it was ludicrous, but people were actually, their lives were taken away from them. So there isn't just a trepidation, but there is this horrible fear and stigma for many people that still exists today because of the horrible things that occurred to others who spoke even a small smidgen of what we have been delving into here today.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'd like to actually, as we are just a few minutes into our show, I would. Is there anything that you can say and share, just from your own knowledge and your own information, that you'd like to share with our viewers today, with respect to
staying
in touch?
Well, I think what's important to understand is that there are powerful forces arrayed against our knowing the truth. They're in the scientific community, where atheism is a fundamental dogma, materialism, fundamental dogma, and in the religious community, where they would rather have you believe stuff people believed 2,000 years ago than have you actually read the Gospels. And it turns out Jesus told us all this stuff 2,000 years ago, but they just don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
within the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to have a soul phone. People will be able to chat with the dead. Hi, Mom, how you doing? What was that recipe again? Let me write it down. When you can do that, it's going to be impossible any longer for anyone to say the dead do not survive. Because if they say it to you, you'll laugh in their face. And I think that's when the tide is going to change. It's not, we're not sure. They're working on it now. I mean, there are working prototypes now. But
they're fixing the glitch.
They're fixing it, eh?
To be
That's what we're doing
before we can bring it up. But we've already had the Wright brothers flight. Now we're trying to get the commercial auto company going at this point. And that's when the world changes. So watch your screen for more information.
That is wonderful. Thank you for that. That's that. See, there you go, everybody. You got something to look forward to.
Soul phones.
Soul phones.
Yay.
Not cell. Soul.
Love it.
It is. Oh, I'm actually excited for that.
It will be wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Absolutely.
that's how we are going to get the scientists to start paying attention to. I mean, it's terrible to have the physics of the third wave be studied by lawyers. I mean, we need scientists to study this stuff, but they're just refusing to look at it.
Well, there are more and more
they're
that
starting
are.
to.
There are more and more. The scientific community is as well opening up, and there is a growing number of scientists that are studying, and I mean they've always been studying ontologically the meaning of life and the existence and everything, but they are actually not just studying it from that perspective, but actually starting to connect the dots and to give the acknowledgement
to the
many people who have been saying, well, what you're studying is actually this, and they're actually now starting to say, you know what, you're actually right. It is, you know, like consciousness is infinite and energy is infinite and we are all connected and there is no way of getting around it, and our thoughts do have an effect.
Wonderful ones like Dean Radin, Gary Schwartz. There are wonderful scientists working on this, but they're not allowed into the mainstream. They're not going to get a Nobel Prize for their work. We still have this fundamental dogma of materialism, which is so ironic when they themselves know there is no such thing as anything material. The smallest particle is a vortex of energy. That's it.
Which is 99.999% non-stuff.
That's right. That's right.
It's true.
But the world will change.
That's
it's
right.
Going to happen soon now.
That's right. Roberta, it is a pleasure again, and not only is it a pleasure, I wanna have her on all the time. We should do it. We should
anytime. I'm delighted to.
We should do it.
This is fun. I love talking to the two of you.
Oh, we love having you. You are such a delight, and it is so much fun, and it's light, and it's playful, and it's deep. And it's full. And we absolutely appreciate you giving us of yourself and of all that you have done over the years for the benefit of all, sharing so freely and so openly. And we definitely look forward to having you back on the show very, very soon.
That will be fun. I look forward to it. That will
Absolutely.
Be wonderful.
So just one more time before we say goodbye to everybody, let's put up where you can go and get Roberta's book, The Fun of Staying in Touch, and learn more about Roberta herself.
So it's as you can see on the screen, So you could go to her website and it will take you to everywhere that she is, along with her fabulousness and all her works and all her books. Because there's other books.
So until we meet again, sweet Earth Angels Divine, thank you all so very much for joining us here on Being Love TV Souls Talking Brain show. We are your double goddess. I am Roni Lipstein, and this is
Aline Ohanessian.
And we send forth infinite bliss to each and every one of we for our authentic desires materialize, manifest in easy breezy beautifulness. Mwah.
Talking brain, enlightened minds, seeking out truths, seeing the world with the mind of those who see beyond the three-dimensionally. Souls, talking brain, ask the right questions, uncovers the blinds. Souls, talking brain, enlightening minds, oh yeah, seeking out truth.